So remember how I wasn't gonna drink anything? Oh, God.
You just said no alcohol. What are you doing?
I mean, you gotta start somewhere.
I have another arrogant bastard ale. I don't know why I'm doing this again.
I always seem to put myself in a position to have to unplug this thing when it's already recording.
Okay.
It's getting a little smoother with time, but
Are you having more whiskey?
I just told Mark a story about how I just got punched in the face on Friday by some dude.
I mean, the chin, sorta. It's not.
I mean, my collarbone got it worse than my chin.
Yeah.
Even though my chin was bleeding, I've actually got scars on my collarbone.
You seem surprised when I didn't say anything about this cut on your chin. You have a beard over it. I can't see anything.
Well,
and
it
it's not
looked
very
like,
bright in here.
You know when like dogs get chewed on
No.
by other dogs, and you look at them and they just you just see a bunch of fur and blood and like chunks.
It's all matted together. Yeah. Anyway, this event.
Yes.
You got punched.
The guy was so short, he hit me on the collarbone and swung up, caught the edge of my chin, and he must have had a ring on because it just sliced through my collarbone and my chin.
It wasn't like he got your lights knocked out by this punch. He just cut you with something.
No, it was more like I saw him winding up, so I had time to pull away, and then I was backing up, and he threw a few more punches, and like
he was probably drunk
the whole time. Well, I don't know if it was like embarrassingly early in the night, considering how much we had to drink.
I gotta kick your ass just at it,
First person I saw walking across the street was Colin Farrell, so of course I should have taken that as a hint of how my night was gonna go.
Is that bad? Is Colin Farrell a bad omen for people?
I think he's had a tendency to drink, have a history with drinking and fighting.
So now when people see him, they're like, "Oh shit, here comes Farrell!
Yeah,
run, run!"
Shit. But anyway, by the time we got to the last bar, we all got in there, and I was like, "Man, this place is really empty. Is it always this empty?" And someone looked at the clock, and they're like, "Oh, it's only 9:00, dude." I was like, "Geez." So yeah. Anyway, plus I hadn't eaten all day, which is always a bad combination. But
since I used to work as a bartender years ago before I came to LA, thinking that I would be capable of doing it out here, not a chance.
I'm glad you have such high self-esteem.
I was not a good bartender. I'll leave it at that. We were told, part of the training of being a bartender is you don't overserve people. If you can tell that someone is visibly drunk, you cut them off. That is the law, because you personally and the bar or restaurant can be held legally responsible for whatever the fuck you do later.
Oh, well, we did get kicked out.
Okay, good. Okay.
We did.
But still, even
not really kicked out. I mean, the bouncer came up and he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to ask you guys to leave."
They didn't have to throw you out, but they kicked you out.
I haven't been kicked out of a place since I cannonballed into a pool.
At the Standard?
Not the Standard. There's some other swankier place that I was never able to get into. Standard has such low standards that they'll let anybody in, really.
Oh.
But this other place, I don't know what the hell was going on. I think we had a couple screenings of some of my short films, and I went out with my cousin.
And it made you depressed because they were so awful, and you just had to go cause trouble somewhere.
No, I went with my two cousins, Erica and Christy's husband, Devin, who had just gotten back from Iraq.
Mm.
And so we showed up at this club, and there's a huge pool, and there's all these lounge tables around it, and people were sitting drinking, eating, whatever, and no one was in the pool. And Devin and I were like, "Well, why is nobody in the pool?" And this was another.
This was for swimming, Chad.
They're like, "Well, you can't get in the pool after 9 p.m." It's a hotel, so it's the hotel's pool.
Oh, okay. But yeah, after 9, there's too many other people.
After 9, you're not supposed to be in there,
right?
Because the alcohol's out and people are drunk and they don't want to mix alcohol in pools. But that wasn't acceptable to us, and so.
That sounds like a dumb policy, hotel. We're gonna improve your policy.
One table at a time. My cousin Erica, Devin, and I, and Christy just walked from table to table to be like, "Hey, we're gonna jump in the pool. You guys want to join us? We figured power in numbers." And people were just smiling at us, like, "Oh no, but have fun. I'll cheer you on." We're like, "Okay, finally get all the way around. At some point, Devin goes back to the table, and it's just Erica and I walking around, and we talk to damn near everyone around the pool. No one, of course, is gonna go in. And so at that point, I'm my normal self, which is like I'm not gonna push too many buttons. So I was like, okay, whatever. But I was definitely pretty tipsy after showing. I think we showed the original, the role played short that you're in.
Yes.
And the send off or something.
Yeah.
This was probably the last time I was this drunk. And 10 years ago or whatever. And so we go back to the table, and like I'm done. I'm like, all right, whatever. And like Christy's like, well, you guys aren't jumping in. I was like, nah, probably not. And I look over, and Devin's like starting to strip down to his skimmies. And then I look at Erica, and she's like, uh-oh. And I'm like, all right, well, there it goes.
Let's do this.
I stand up, pull my shirt off, take my pants off down to my boxers, and then Devin dives gracefully into the pool, and I just fucking cannonball.
That's what you gotta do, really.
I just go boom, and like probably got everyone at all the tables that we had talked to soaking wet.
You warned him. You told him what was gonna happen.
It's true.
Maybe not specifically.
Not even before I'm out of the water, I can see the shape of the bouncer.
Oh, like
lurching right up to the water. As I'm coming up, I just
at the
see.
Surface.
And like I come up out of the water, and all I see is this guy just looking at me, and he waves his fingers. He's like, "Yep, come on, let's go."
Doesn't even have to tell you what to do.
Doesn't even have to tell you what to do. He's like,
yeah,
you.
Wait, me?
It's time. And so I, of course, I'm just like smiling. Devin just got back from being a medic in a war, so he was like ready to do whatever.
I did not remember that he was a medic.
Different Devin. Not Devin Reed. This is a different Devin.
Oh,
this is married to my cousin, Devin.
Okay, Devin Reed. He was in Africa, not Iraq, right? Or did he do that
well,
too?
he was in Iraq first, and then Africa later.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
How many...
different... I know. Too many
Are these
Devins.
all from, like...
They all came back, and they all had PTSD. That's all I know.
Oh. Wonderful.
So,
I think Devin is a very Colorado name. Are they both from Colorado?
No. One's from Oregon, and one's from San Diego.
Devin and Chad and Todd.
Can I finish my story?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. So, of course, we're getting escorted out. My cousin is laughing her ass off, and she's carrying my clothes. And
your phone, I hope.
And I'm pretty sure my wang was hanging out of my pants, my boxers, because it was, they're just like loose boxers and like open fly. There's no button or anything. And we get a standing ovation from a few people in the crowd who were like, we knew everybody at this point, and so we followed through. Everybody was cheering us out, and like I'm like trying not to die on the way out of the building because we're walking on marble.
Oh God! And you're all wet, slipping
I'm
around,
soaking wet, and I'm just like sliding all over the place. I almost fell on my face a couple times. And we finally get out into the street, and Erica's just like crying. She's laughing so hard. And get out on the street. Devin and I just stripped down completely naked on Sunset Boulevard.
Wow.
On a Friday night.
Just to get your wet
just to
clothes
get
off
the
and
wet,
put the dry ones on.
Yeah, we put the dry ones on, and we threw our underwear over one of the Sunset Boulevard signs right outside of the House of Blues.
Okay.
So that's where we were. And, yeah, that was the end of that night. Anyway, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but this is...
Well, it was other drunken adventures.
Alcohol is bad, people.
And that's why you're drinking a bunch of it right now. Actually,
it's just cherry Coke, but there is whiskey in here.
You can't say it's just cherry Coke, but there's some whiskey in here. No, it's whiskey and cherry Coke. Then
we're giving a bad impression to our audience about how much alcohol intake there actually is.
There's no alcohol in here. It's only a little whiskey.
Right.
That's what you just said.
I mean, these podcasts would be pretty boring if we were just sober.
You mean like 95% of the time?
Like they always are anyway. Mark, it's your time to choose a movie. What did we choose?
We chose What I think is a classic from 2004, David Mamet movie called Spartan.
Yes. Spartan.
And it has nothing to do with
For Sparta!
Yeah, it's not that kind of Spartan.
Ken,
but it,
I know I've seen this. I assume I watched it with you. Maybe not.
I don't think so, but it's possible. I don't know.
We might have watched it at the same time because I honestly don't remember a damn thing about this movie. The only thing I remember about it was that the only reason I watched it was that because Kristen Bell was in it, and I was going through my Kristen Bell, Veronica Mars phase when I was watching season 2.
Veronica Mars came out the same year as this.
And this was before she was big.
Yeah.
And
but
I just remember
her
being...
Her face is the poster.
Her face is the poster. And I remember she's not in much of the movie, but...
Shh.
Oh, yeah. Spoiler, I guess?
I guess.
But I don't remember... I don't remember enough about it to remember liking it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember being kind of ambivalent on it.
Well, I guess maybe I'll wait until after we watch the movie again to talk about, I don't know, what Spartan means to me. Should we just get on with it? It's a David Mamet movie.
Well,
if you're familiar with his writing style, he's a playwright. He did Glengarry Glen Ross. He did the...
I always get him mixed up with... There's a few other playwrights, like Neil LaBute. I get him confused all the time. I mean, Mamet to...
well, what's that first Neil LaBute movie? That was based on one of his plays.
Was it the one we were talking about?
No, that was The Shape of Things.
The Shape of Things. Yeah,
There's one before that with Aaron
Aaron
Eckhart.
Aaron Eckhart. That's the woman, like the women in the workplace.
Yeah.
It was In the Company of Men.
In the Company of Men. Yeah,
I guess he likes to push buttons.
Yeah, yeah. Neil LaBute, I think, pushes more buttons than David Mamet does.
Mm-hmm. But actors, especially in like theater actors, like eat this shit up because they usually write such like fun characters to play.
It's fun characters, and Mamet is known for his dialogue, which is sort of, I guess, uses a lot of, I guess I'll call it inside baseball words, like sort of industry slang. He's written Speed the Plow is a movie about a play about a movie producer, and they're throwing these lines about budgets and production terms and shit like that back and forth. And Spartan, well, again, I guess I'll just wait to talk about this movie until we've actually watched it.
Fine. Are we gonna rate this like we've rated the last few?
Just you, I guess. Yeah, because I've seen it. I gave it 9 out of 10.
Well, this is okay. Since I don't remember, I'm just basing this on a vague recollection. I will say 5.5 out of 10.
Oh, just above middle.
Yeah.
Middling.
I mean, like I said, I'm not sure if I was ambivalent on it or not, but
maybe you just weren't paying attention.
Maybe not. It's your fault. Maybe, yeah. Maybe not.
Everything's your fault.
Well, all right.
Let's do it. Spartan.
Where's the girl?
Sir, we believe she was abducted. That she was taken to a bordello.
Here in Boston?
She may have been delivered for sale, sent down the pipeline and overseas.
To get to her father. What do they do when they realize who they took?
They kill her.
I've got 2 days before the press wakes up.
I need a man who can unquestionably follow orders.
I am here to get the girl back, sir. And there is nothing I will not do.
What's this?
She signs all of her letters with that. She sees things cockeyed like Picasso.
They took her.
Who is they?
I don't want to get in trouble.
She was here. Where is she?
You're gonna leave your life, or you're gonna leave the information in this room.
There's a slave trade going on of American women.
Her father was in town. They took the Secret Service detail off her to take him tomcatting. She was snatched while he was cheating on his wife. It comes out, they lose the election.
I did my part.
What part was that?
They gotta get her back.
There is no they. They'll let her die.
They told him she was dead. She's alive.
Sir, I saw the sign.
Let it go. Stop looking for her.
It goes beyond that.
We would have let her come home, but you had to put on your thinking cap.
What if we had to go off the meter? I need to ask you to do something.
Do you know what we've had to do all these years?
Who are you?
All right. It's still amazing to me that movies are still dated in a sense. Like, when was this made?
2004. Well, I guess it was probably made in 2003, but it came out in 2004.
So it's 13 years old, which, you know, is a significant amount of time. However, when you think 2004, you would think
they didn't have smartphones in 2004. They still had
no
cell
I'm not,
phones with antennas.
But I'm not even gonna comment on that. I was gonna comment on the look of this. Like, it was shot on film.
Yes.
And it looks
you
like
couldn't
90s.
stop yourself from commenting on the
it looks
the jittering of the film.
Yeah, it looks like a 90s film.
You think so?
Well, or at least in this DVD that we watched, it looks like it's, you know, a pretty simple transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it didn't look like it was cleaned up too much. It feels like a mid late 90s movie.
Okay.
Even though it was a decade after that it was done. I'm just saying, I'm commenting on the fact that this looks so much older than I feel like it actually is.
I guess I can see what you're saying.
There
are a few
know if
scenes where you kind of go, huh, they really lit it just... They just blasted everybody in the scene with light.
And I don't know if that's just... I think that was my problem with it when I first saw it, is it felt... you know, we made the comment throughout, like, this is David Mamet of playwright.
Yeah.
Playwright David Mamet.
Of stage fame, not necessarily of film fame.
Who,
though he has made quite a number of
surely has directed stage plays. And while this movie does kind of escape out of it a little bit, it feels like it was built for a stage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is
too
about
many
those
scenes, but
those kind of directors. Like, everything's staged, characters kind of play off each other, and
yeah,
you know, there's some action in this, but it's mostly a dialogue-driven movie.
Yeah, a lot of it is shot with just normal coverage, like pointing this way, pointing that way, you know, medium close-ups on both characters.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, just a dialogue delivery system. Mm-hmm. Perhaps a little more sophisticated than a Kevin Smith movie, I would hope you would agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that. So what is it about this that you really liked?
Spartan, to me, is sort of the epitome, even more of an epitome of David Mamet's work than Glenn Ross. He didn't direct that; he just wrote it.
Right. That was James Foley directed that one.
Right, and that's a great movie.
Yeah.
Everybody in that movie is as good as they have ever been.
Right.
Everybody delivers what I would consider an Oscar-worthy performance in Glenn Ross. But as far as David Mamet's own films, this is like the ultimate. It all kind of comes from the title, Spartan. That's not just describing one of King Leonidas's Spartan warriors. Mm-hmm. It's also an adjective. It is spare. It's Spartan. There's, you know, it's pretty threadbare.
Right.
There's a lot going on in the movie, but there is almost no flavor.
Right.
Like, added on top. Basically, the plot, spoiler, because even the trailer doesn't really give this away. Kristen Bell is the president's daughter.
Yeah.
You know what? 2 words, I said this during the movie, the 2 words you never hear in the movie are president's daughter.
Yeah.
They don't even, like, that's how Spartan the movie is. They don't even give you a clear picture of what the story is going into it. We kind of start off with Val Kilmer. He's a Marine. He's training the new recruits. And then he gets sucked into this thriller thing where a girl has been kidnapped. And they never, where another movie would have said, like,
Yeah.
Jack, get in here. You need to save the president's daughter.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Get off my president's daughter's plane. Well, wait, and I think that was my problem with the beginning, at least, is that you're watching this seemingly small group of Marines, I'm guessing, go through some training, and that whole sequence is so like staged, and it feels like it's almost like they had like a bad second AD directing the the extras, but a lot of that comes with just like a director who's not thinking outside of the box. They're thinking of the characters that have the dialogue and not so much the background and the scenario around them.
What was it about the beginning sequence that
but it was the fact that was like the intro to this movie, and it felt very closed off, very tight knit, very spare, like you were saying. But as you learn more about who these people are, and you kind of understand that they're really like, he's not Secret Service, or is he?
He's just kind of he's a Marine.
He's kind of,
but he's sort of known
along those lines, who kind of intertwines with them.
Yeah. Like, he apparently has lots of friends also in various military departments, and they all know he's the guy.
An operative, basically.
Yeah,
it seems like, and that
he's an older, fatter Jason Bourne.
Once that starts to become clear, and we start to see him kind of escape this world of what feels like set built stages, because that's the whole beginning of the whole first third of the movie feels like it's just goes from one like stage to the next stage, and
the whole part when
set up
when he's brought into the thing that goes down, and it's just all these agents going around like, you give me the details on this thing and that thing, and they're shouting out orders to each other.
Each room is like built like it looks like it belongs on a Broadway stage.
Yeah, that is definitely, I see where you're coming from there.
But that's my biggest problem with the movie. I think but watching it now, like, I seem to remember that I did enjoy this movie, and I did enjoy it this time too.
Better than a 5.5?
Better than a 5.5. I would rate this around 6.
6.85.
In execution, in execution, I would say 6.5.
Okay.
Had this been done by a director of a higher caliber, I feel like
Denis Villeneuve?
This could have been an 8.
Okay.
If this was done by Denis Villeneuve, whatever his name is, or Fincher, or Scorsese, or somebody with more of a visual palette for telling a story, I feel like that would have taken this movie to another level, because it's like the script is there, and Mamet is known for these highly complex like plots that kind of intertwine and kind of mesh perfectly. Like, I think I was telling you last week, because we were talking about Spartan, maybe watching that last week, but the one thing I was mentioning is The Spanish Prisoner, with Steve Martin, was also a Mamet movie, and I think that was done before Spartan, maybe late 90s, and that was the film that in our intro to film course during structure week, when we're studying the structure of a plot and all that, that was the film that our professor at Boulder presented to us as the perfect structure of how a movie should be structured.
Which is interesting in and of itself, because in all the various books I've read and the classes I took in college, no one ever mentioned the Spanish Prisoner.
Yeah.
For any reason.
Well,
I blame Rebecca Pigeon, because she sucks.
I can't remember what that same professor also said. There hadn't been a good American film since All the President's Men. So
only 30 years or so.
Yeah, 30 years.
25.
Something like that. But so yeah, like, just that was my introduction to Mamet. I always knew of him as a playwright, but I didn't really know of what. I knew of Glengarry Glen Ross, but I hadn't seen it at the time. And even that movie severely suffers from the same thing. Is it's a stage play,
Yeah.
and it feels like one.
And it was written as one.
They might as well have set the cameras up on the side of the stage in Broadway and just film the actors, because that's what it feels like, and that's the same problem that I have with Neil LaBute, like his stuff. Even
The Wicker Man. Just kidding.
The Wicker Man, is that Neil LaBute?
Yeah. What? Neil LaBute did the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man.
That's wacky, but he had the original to kind of base it off of, and the original Wicker Man is very visual. So he could. I would say in that case, it's almost like he's got a blueprint he can follow that made him think outside of his box, because the movie with Gretchen Mol and Ant-Man and Rachel Weisz that Neil LaBute did, Shape of Things, which I want to do on here eventually, even though I think you hate it.
I mean, no, it's a good movie, but it upsets me.
That's a movie to me that feels like a stage play, and it is, but it shows that I think LaBute has a little bit more of a visual sense of what he's doing than Mamet.
I guess I wouldn't disagree with you, but I think it suits this movie well.
Well, I think Mamet's more mainstream. Yeah, and this movie, but it breaks out of it. I feel like about the halfway point when they started to get into like helicopter shots and shit like that. It actually seems
when they
like,
actually get down to the work of searching for the girl,
right?
Doing all that, lots of like light and shadows, things like that. It was a very noir-y sort of feeling film.
I mean, this movie, like Spartan, reminds me of like pick any Ashley Judd movie from like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Just Kiss the Girls.
Generic style, very Hollywood structure, very Hollywood studio production. Except that the script of this is better than those. Yeah. That's basically where I put this movie.
And this script is better, in my opinion, because it doesn't hold you by the hand and guide you through. What's great about the structure of this movie is that each scene flows perfectly into the next.
Right.
And that's what makes it easy to watch, because you kind of understand, okay, they figured out this piece of information, so they're going to do this next. And they don't have to say, okay, gang, here's the plan.
Right.
They don't have to have those scenes and like expository dialogue scenes. They just do it, and you're expected to sort of go along. And I was never confused. I wasn't missing anything. A lot of people would be like, what? What are they doing? Who's that guy?
I would argue
Ed O'Neill.
There's a better way to do it, though, in a way that doesn't feel so dated, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because the style of cinematography has changed so much in the last, apparently 13 years. Or, you still have people who are coming to film from a theater background,
Now there is no theater.
Having worked on House of Cards, I don't think we had director of our episodes. I already said his name. Glenn Ross.
James Foley directed several House of Cards episodes, and so I was having to reanimate all the shots in his episodes, and they were always the best episodes of the season. Usually were the ones directed by him, but they were also the simplest in terms of camera structure. His episodes would take me like half the time of any other director. And it's not something that you think of until you, like, literally I'm taking shot by shot, breaking it down and seeing how someone who comes at it from more of I don't know if James Foley, I'm assuming he actually came from a TV directing background, maybe don't know, theater.
Honestly.
Didn't he also do The Corruptor with Chow Yun-fat?
Maybe.
I think that was him. But that was a very like
that was a very
action-heavy-
action-packed movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember that being very staged, and I would be surprised if it was him. But
Well, I seem to recall, but
well,
let's move
he's
on.
currently doing the new 50 Shades of Grey.
What?
Yeah,
Even
Foley's
darker?
directing the next two. Yeah, so he's a super nice guy. Drinks like a pack of Red Bull a day.
Wow.
Mind-boggling.
So how is he alive?
I that's a good question.
Okay. You should ask him.
Hopefully he'll live forever. I haven't
Mr.
seen
Foley,
him in a long time. He doesn't
next
come
time you
around
see
our
him.
parts anymore.
Oh shit.
I don't know.
What about
Anyway, we're getting off the subject. You mentioned Ed O'Neill.
Ed O'Neill,
Yeah, Mr.
Al Bundy.
Al Bundy himself.
Yeah.
Cast of this is pretty damn good. They filled it out really well.
Well, it's got William H. Macy, Ed O'Neill, Val Kilmer, of course,
The head of S.H.I.E.L.D.
on Agent Coulson.
Agent Coulson is in this.
Yeah, he's the guy who's barking orders at everybody.
Yeah.
Until Ed O'Neill shows up, then he's kind of like, we don't know where she is, sir.
It's like a Mark Pellington, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
Mark Pellegrino or Pellington, I don't know. The guy from Lost and Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, he played Jacob on Lost, and the guy who is his sort of prison mate or whatever. He's
in
one
a
of
lot
those
of stuff, too.
recognizable.
Cast in just a blatantly racist role.
Yeah,
Typically blatant.
as
racist
an
Hollywood role.
Arabic horror master.
Yeah, playing up the accent.
Yeah, he was also in Three Kings, I think. He played the guy who was like, "What is the problem with Michael Jackson?" And then he pours oil down Mark Wahlberg's throat. Yeah, he was really good in Three
that's
Kings.
right.
He's a good actor. He
haven't
just
seen that
didn't
in a
have
long
a great part in this. He shows up and
it's just gone. But I think that's the allure of Mamet.
yeah,
To
a lot of
actors.
people want to work with him because they know that even if
Actors
it's a
know
small
who he is.
part,
Yeah.
like they're gonna have something to do.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be like you show up and you say your lines and you go home. It's like you really got to get invested, even in the small parts.
And I think that's really probably why Kristen Bell has a career, because she, as far as I know, I believe she's a New York-based actress. Or she was when she was starting off, and she hadn't done anything. I guess you said she was.
This came out in 2004, and Veronica Mars
Veronica
started
Mars.
in 2004.
So basically, it
that
was the
kinda
same
came at the
damn time. I
Who
wouldn't be
knows which
surprised
one
if she
came
was
first.
cast. I would think she was cast in this first, maybe.
I would think so, because if she got a TV role and then that was taking up all her time, she wouldn't have time for a film role.
So
I
I'm
bet
guessing
she did
that
this first.
Oh, her agency is like, well, we got David Mamet likes her, so take a look at this girl for your TV show, for your pilot. It's possible the pilot was shot at the same time, and then time passed, and then this happened.
Right, there is a little gap
But
there.
Val Kilmer, on the other hand, doesn't strike me as someone who'd be like, oh yeah, I want to work with Mamet.
I don't know. I think
Val Kilmer's more like who's paying me today?
more of a working actor. That's funny. Could have fooled me. Boom, boom. He's not working much these days, except for those direct to VOD features.
Is he still doing anything? Like,
I don't.
Last I heard, wasn't who was throwing him under a bus saying that he had cancer? Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas was saying
he said we
Val
have the same
Kilmer's
kind
got
of cancer.
He's got like 2 weeks to live or something.
And that was like
Val
a year
Kilmer,
ago.
I guess, the day later was like, no, I don't. But I mean, who knows? Because I guess he's been.
He's just been on
off
his.
and about.
He's been on his ranch smoking dope and growing his hair long and having a fat.
When
belly.
did that all happen, by the way? If this was 2004, he still looks fine.
I think more like in 2009, probably 5 years after this. It's always a slow process.
Salt and
right?
Sea. When was that? That was a good one.
That was.
I feel like it was same era.
2005 or 6, I want to say. It's possible it was even before this. I don't know. He was still in shape then.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still in fine shape in this movie. He doesn't have like a huge double chin or anything weird.
Yeah, I don't know. He definitely.
Sorry, anybody with a double chin. I don't mean to call you weird.
He was hanging out too much with Brando, I guess, back
Right.
on. Dr. Moreau. Back in those days.
Oh, speaking of Dr. Moreau, did you ever see the documentary about the making of the Island of Dr. Moreau?
No.
I forget the name of it. It was on Netflix. It might be
I
off
assume
of it
this
now.
is the making of the new that
yeah,
one.
Yeah, that one
No,
with Val
okay.
Kilmer and Brando. Wow. A lot of people in that documentary said Val Kilmer acted like a complete douchebag.
Really?
Like big time.
Big time, and not Brando.
Him
Well,
too,
for-
but like in a different way.
Yeah.
Like Val Kilmer would make it personal, get nasty with people, spend all his time in his trailer or whatever. Brando just didn't know his lines and had to read them off of a card or in his earpiece or something.
Jesus. That's probably why two of them. I mean, I know nothing about Kilmer. I assume that he's somewhat pleasant to be around. Otherwise, it wouldn't keep getting cast. Or
Right. Well, that's I don't think he's doing much these days. Didn't do my research. I don't know what he's up to now.
I have no idea. I can't remember the last time I saw him in a film recently. It's just one of those things where the actor just stops working, and then one day you go,
What
wait a
happened to
minute,
that person?
and it's not like
They didn't officially retire.
I don't feel like it's been that long since he's done something, because the industry has changed so much in the last 7 years.
Like he did a few low budget thrillers and horror movies in the mid 2000s and maybe even up to like 2010. He was still doing stuff like that. He was in a movie called Mindhunters, unrelated to the show that you're working on.
Yeah.
Or is that
Mindhunter?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is he in a? Maybe I did just see that he was in a movie with Elijah Wood coming out. Maybe, I don't know. I could be thinking of the wrong thing.
You thinking of Nick Cage?
Maybe, yeah.
Because
yeah.
Nick Cage and Elijah Wood were in a movie called The Trust, which I actually recommend. It's a heist movie about two people, and you never really meet anybody else, but it's surprisingly good, considering it was like one of these direct-to-video movies.
Is Nick Cage the rich man's Val Kilmer?
I don't know if he's the rich man's anything.
I mean, he's doing better than Val.
Yeah, point. I mean, he's still working a lot more, but recently he was in the remake of the Left Behind movie. I wouldn't call that top quality material.
No. Yeah. Ever since he spent like $1 million on that baseball.
Yeah. Then getting Action Comics #1 or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Spartan. I really like it. I guess I don't notice the cinematography errors or the age. It doesn't hit me.
I don't think there's any errors to it. It's just it just feels it. You know, in a world where this came out after Panic Room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this super highly stylized looking film, and then you get movies like Spartan or any other, studio production typically.
I guess it might sound dumb to describe it this way, but it's part of the charm of the movie. If you could even say this movie has charm. Again, it's like it's the driving theme of the thing through everything, the dialogue, the images, and the acting. It's all Spartan. It's all just very straightforward. It's pretty dry, and it it sounds like you want a little more spice thrown on, and there's just no spice to be had.
But Mamet's always been like that, though. I feel like Mamet's always been very almost like clear cut. Like there's detail oriented stuff, but it's very simplified.
It's simplified in a complex way. He's trying to convey a lot of information in the most economic fashion he can. Right. I'm not an expert on his style or anything, but I have read a couple of his books about directing and writing and whatever.
It's not show don't tell, it's tell don't tell. That's Mamet's style.
Tell don't tell?
Tell don't tell. Because he's telling you mostly through dialogue without telling you.
Yeah. It's mostly dialogue, but he's not just kind of spitting it out. he's dancing around the subject, and it's at first glance it kind of seems more realistic because people don't talk in the way they do on like a cop TV show. But in another way, it's totally stylized because people still don't talk the way they do in Mamet.
Well, I was about to say, I'm starting to realize, I think, why you like this movie. And that the thing that I felt when we were watching it is I felt like we were watching a 1940s noir.
Yeah.
In a way, because it's
With
kind of
more military
staged like
shit.
a noir. He's a very noir character.
Mm-hmm. He's a lone.
He's not an anti-hero, but he's definitely he's somebody who's a very strong lead who's doing the right thing. Even though he may or may not make it out alive, you're just watching it going, I don't know about this guy. Is he gonna live or what?
He's a tough motherfucker who usually works alone. He's kind of putting this new guy through the ropes, and he kind of lives by his own code. But because it's a Mamet movie, we don't get that spelled out to us. We just know it from his actions and the way he handles things. He lives by his own code. And then when it turns out that he's been betrayed and the people he thought he was helping are trying to kill him, we feel that betrayal too. And that's a very noir thing. Like he's trying to live in the world in the way he sees fit, and then realizes that's not the way the world really is. And he's just gotta fight his way out after that. Same thing with Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead.
Yeah,
it was the same thing.
Very, very similar in terms of the main character.
Yeah, like totally different people.
Right.
But they went through
totally
the same
different
thing.
people, totally different scenarios, but yeah, very much the same, similar type of a very noir styled character of that era.
Yeah. Now David Mamet produced a TV show called The Unit.
Yeah.
That ran from 06 to 08.
He also directed like the pilot, didn't he?
I think so.
Sure.
He's he's done a lot of TV. He did one episode of The Shield, which is really good.
And of course, you know how I knew about that show? It was my friend Ryan Jordan, who was really into theater at Cal State Northridge here. Like, he brought it to me. He was like, "Oh man, I'm so excited to see this new Mamet show called The Unit," and that was, theater guy.
Was he
Mamet was
he excited for the show, or was he actually a fan of the show after it was out too?
Well, he always likes military shows in general, but he loves Mamet. And just like we were talking about how actors just love Mamet for some reason, presumably because of dialogue to play with. Like, I guess that's it.
Well, the plots and all that are good too. The rest of the play.
Yeah.
I think I saw season 2 of The Unit. I got the whole thing on DVD.
You skipped season 1?
I think it was when I was reviewing stuff for NP2K, and we just missed season 1, and I got to season 2.
Sounds about right.
I think that's what happened, and I didn't like the show. I was expecting, frankly, more Mamet.
Right. Well,
and it was a pale imitation. It was just kind of like an army show. It was like CSI with the army.
Well, I think that's why it didn't work for me. Is I felt it was too Mamet.
Oh.
It felt too, just like this. It felt too staged, and that was.
It definitely did. It felt
in a
felt
world
pretty cheap
of
and staged.
When that's competing against movies like Syriana, or even going as far back as like Traffic. These like very gritty things that felt more real for the first time, even though you watch those movies now and you're like, this doesn't feel real at all.
Yeah.
But for the time, even Three Kings, talking about that, like these movies that feel so hyper real.
Yeah, you look back
when you
now
look back and you see something like The Unit, just sees this overproduced TV show. You're like,
it was like a soap opera. It was like a melodrama.
Yeah.
It just had some guys with guns every once in a while. I do think that show was the first time I ever heard the phrase Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, though. And I started using it all over the place. I'm sure I annoyed
that
a few
explains
people.
the mid 2000s to me. Being around you.
It was everywhere I went, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Jeez, what's with Mark and the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot? I don't know what that means.
Did you like this movie? Well, when's the last time you saw Spartan? Before this. And did it?
It might be like
stand
7
up
or
as
8
well?
years ago. I think it stood up better
Really?
than I had it in my mind. Yeah.
What do you rank this out of 10?
Oh, still I'm at a 9.
So what?
I really enjoy the dialogue, that Memetian dialogue. There were a lot of weird jokes. Memetian. Like Kristen Bell as the girl who's missing. Everywhere she goes, for some reason, maybe she's OCD, she draws a little like sideways face with like a percentage sign and a parentheses. Sort of. This is before emojis, when people were still using ASCII symbols.
Yeah.
And one guy is like, I saw the sign, but Val Kilmer doesn't know what he's talking about, so he goes like, you're very blessed.
Yeah.
Thinking he saw a sign from heaven or something.
Little jokes, which is funny to me because the guy who says I saw the sign like he was shot, and so he's delirious when he says this.
Yeah.
But why he didn't say that in like the half a day before he was shot, like, oh, I saw the symbol of the girl.
I guess if we're just going by the pace of the movie, they were way too fucking busy to talk about that. That was last scene. We got to keep moving forward.
Yes. Like, you think that would be a pretty significant piece of info, unless you just already assumed that the girl was there.
I think it's one of the big twists in the movie is that they're searching for the girl, and then oops, they look on the news and they find out she actually drowned. So the search is called off, and the guy probably didn't even remember until later, oh shit, she didn't drown at this other place. She was in this house that we saw because I saw that sign. And that's what leads on to the rest of the movie. Somebody's lying about her being dead. There's this weird sense of humor. I love the dialogue like I do in just about every Mamet thing.
Yeah, I don't feel any different about it, I think, than I did the first time I saw it. I'd maybe, like I said, a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I appreciate the structure of the script a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I think I definitely was paying more attention to that this time.
But it definitely is a movie that suffers from feeling contained. Whether that's by budget, which I'm sure had a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't feel like a big movie. You know,
right?
They had money for helicopters,
but that's it.
That's about it.
Like even they have scenes in foreign countries and everything, but you never get the typical.
You don't get the Mission Impossible shots of Dubai.
It's not a Mission Impossible movie, even though it almost
Val
is.
Kilmer's not hanging out the side of the Burj Dubai.
Yeah, it's on a much smaller scale. I still think the stakes are pretty high because people are already dying, and it's all about saving this girl. Can they do it? And
of course they have to get her out of a very Osama bin Laden style compound, which actually looked remarkably similar.
Maybe that's where they shot it. Oh my god!
I faked the whole thing. Anyway.
But William H. Macy shows up. He's a badass.
Yeah.
For like his very short.
For like 3 scenes.
Yeah.
But goes back to they filled out every single role with somebody, just because it was Mamet and he could.
I think even the guy at the beginning, like the Secret Service agent who failed to do his job and protect her from being kidnapped, who shoots himself out of shame apparently. Even that guy is somebody. I don't remember his name, but I know I've seen him.
Well, we're all somebody, Mark.
Okay. I mean, everybody's got parents. Sure.
Is this the first time we saw what's his name? O'Neill in a role that wasn't goofy?
No, he was in, I think it was like a made-for-TV sequel to French Connection, where he played Popeye Doyle. He played Gene Hackman's role.
Oh, so he went from Married with Children to Popeye Doyle?
It may have been before Married with Children even. I think O'Neill comes from like the Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago.
Well,
Just
he plays like a badass, not a badass, but he plays straight really well. And I know I've seen him do some really quality stuff that's not comedy, even though he's mostly known for Married with Children and Modern Family.
Yeah. And Dutch.
And Dutch. What's Dutch?
It was a John Hughes movie.
Yeah, I don't even know. I could not tell you that movie.
Oh, yeah. It's also got Ethan Embry as his stepson, I think.
That's the second Ethan Embry, like we've talked about. Last week we talked about him in Empire Records.
Mm-hmm. How it was sort of similar to SLC Punk, like
which I'm not even sure that it was, but
I knew what you were saying though.
Yeah.
I get that.
Anyway, I mean I don't have anything else to really say on this movie.
Okay.
Besides,
well, I'm glad I forced you to watch it again.
I mean, I'm glad I was updated on what it was.
Maybe next time we'll do Red Belt.
Oh, there we go.
That's Mamet's last feature.
It was a while ago now.
Yeah.
I wonder what the hell he's up to. Just TV, huh?
I think he has a few things in various stages of pre-production, you know? But, yeah. Well, gang, check out Spartan if you like other Mamet things or if you like political thrillers. This one is kind of light on the politics.
Or if you just like seeing Kristen Bell's first role.
Yeah, first major role, I think.
Probably the first time she was cast in anything big. Yeah.
All right.
Later.
Bye.